speaking first, though? Basically,
Yeah, it's picking you up enough, you know. Have anyone for makeup? Makeup? You can do that. So swap that with the next person. It's recording now.
Okay.
Okay, so stream it, okay?
Okay.
Decide me until the thing starts.
No, I'm supposed to stand here until it starts. I'm keeping the camera live. Yeah, so Gary, this is a microphone to be used for the streaming. So you're going to make a little announcement to start with, or
I think so.
so perhaps you should have it to start and then give it to me, and I'll give it to the next one.
Sure.
Ooh, it's furry.
I'm just going to make sure everybody's in.
This is live, he's saying. You can talk to my pocket.
It's live now.
It's very, very, very sensitive.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Gary Carlis. I'm a friend of Dr. Paul Pringle's for nearly 3 decades. And I know it's been a hard journey for the last couple of weeks for a lot of people. But I think it's a very good indication of the people who are here, the people who have travelled to come and show respect for Paul. So thank you very much for coming. Some administration duties first. People who do need a toilet, it's through these doors, through the double doors on your left-hand side and on your right-hand side, there's the toilet. For if there's a fire alarm, we have to go through these double doors, the front doors, and the meeting place is way down in the back of the car park if there is a fire alarm. We expect to finish in about 45 minutes. Then from 45 minutes from there, we will be going back to the room back here for some food, tea and coffee. Question, Richard, yeah? Sorry? The bar, I believe, is through here. Great question. And that's a question Paul would ask, so I'll answer that one. Back through these doors to the right-hand side. And I do believe they do pour a good pint of Guinness, as I can justify with Keith over in the corner there. First up, will be the man who's responsible for actually bringing Paul to Northern Ireland, Dr. Kevin Proudman. Thank you.
But that's great, thank you. And it was a great thing I did. Everyone should be very, very grateful. So I also brought Gary, of course.
You did.
You didn't say that. And half the other chiropractors in here too. But clearly they didn't realize when they gave me a microphone and a camera that I wasn't going to just read the script. So I am responsible for Paul coming over 30 odd years ago, and it was a fantastic relationship that we had over many, many years, and I'm so grateful for it. So I'm going to read the script now, but just a preamble to it. I'm a Baha'i, and so this is from the Baha'i writings. Paul, when he first went to Australia, was employed by a Baha'i over there, and when he came over here, it was me. And so the Baha'i belief is in a life after this life, and a lot of and sort of metaphors and analogies relate to it. So, for example, in this it talks about when you have a lamp with the light, if something comes between you and the lamp, you can't see the light, but it doesn't mean the light's gone away. The light is still there. And the analogy is that when someone has moved to the next life, whatever it is, they're still there. It's still the same person. And another analogy is the child in the womb. So the child in the womb knows nothing about this world and the trees and grass and sky and all the rest of it, but it's there nonetheless. And when the child is born into this world, then it experiences all those things. And I think it's a good analogy. I think that in the next life we'll experience all the things of that life, even though we know nothing of it here. So this is from the Baha'i writings. Consider the light of the lamp. Though an external object may interfere with its radiance, the light itself continueth to shine with undiminished power. In like manner, every malady affecting the body of man is an impediment that preventeth the soul from manifesting its inherent might and power. When it leaveth the body, however, it will evince such ascendancy and reveal such influence as no force on earth can equal. Every pure, every refined and sanctified soul will be endowed with tremendous power and shall rejoice with exceeding gladness. Baha'u'llah.
Thank you, Kevin. Next up to speak will be Dr. Sam Pinkerton, who's been friends with Paul for decades as well. And this is a eulogy written by Paul's family. So Sam's going to recite that as requested. Thank you, Sam.
I don't think that's on. Is it on? Well, it's quite an honor to be asked to read this for you guys, and I hope I do it justice. So, Paul Daniel Pringle, who was he? Where did his journey begin? Paul was born on November 10th, 1937, to Irene and Paul Nash Pringle. Paul and his younger sister Pam grew up happily in Clarksburg, West Virginia, and Fort Pierce, Florida. After graduation from West Virginia's Greenbrier Military School in 1956, a good year by the way, Paul became a student at the Palmer College of Chiropractic, graduating in 1962. By all accounts, Paul always had an adventurous spirit. Is that right, Pam? Yeah. In the early 60s, Paul and his first wife, Virginia, moved to Mount Gambier, South Australia with their 2 children, Gerry and Liz. The couple were blessed during that time with 3 more children, Peter, Debbie, and Danielle. This is where Paul established 3 large practices, chiropractic practices, servicing southwestern South Australia. And if you spend any time with Paul, you would have heard the stories ad nauseum. But they were very entertaining the first half a dozen times. His passions at that time, outside of chiropractic and family, were clay pigeon shooting, go-karting, like to see him fit in one of those, flying, and becoming involved with the local footy clubs. I don't think that was as a player, was it? No. Yeah, okay. Yep. So, after becoming qualified as a small aircraft pilot, Paul's adventurous spirit led him and his family to Central Australia, Alice Springs, settling in Alice Springs. This is where Paul became the first flying chiropractor, establishing satellite clinics in remote communities across the outback. And he loved it. Another sound loop we heard on a regular basis. You know, so. Paul embedded himself into the community and became an active member of Rotary and other service clubs. That's where I met him, by the way, was Alice Springs in '84. After many happy years in the Alice, as they call it over there, Paul's adventurous spirit once again took hold, and in the early 90s led him to Ireland. This is where he met one of his greatest loves, Maxine. And he let us know that too on a regular basis. Let's see here. Over the next 21 years, they continued his life's work, adjusting, teaching, and encouraging all to take responsibility for their own health and well-being. Paul was a chiropractic icon, as most of you know, an extraordinary man and a generous soul. He will be sadly missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. He certainly will be sadly missed, that's for sure. Next up, we have Dr. Scott White. So if you could come up, Scotty. Sure. That'll be great.
Cheers. Good afternoon. I, along with a lot of other people, were introduced to Paul Pringle by Kevin. Thank you, Kevin, and Sam. And I've known Paul now for 25 years. So it's been quite a while. It's been a long, lovely relationship. So anyway, dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to pay homage and tribute to, no, wait a minute. That is not what we're here to do, okay? Come on. This is to be a celebration of the wonderful life of Dr. Paul Daniel Pringle. Let me start with a story to set the tone for the day in the honor of his life. It wasn't long ago that I was standing in St. Peter's Square waiting on the appearance of the Pope. There were a few of us there, including our friend Paul, and it wasn't shortly after we arrived we noticed that Paul had disappeared. Where'd he go? And we wondered where he had gone. Not too concerned. The group surmised he was off looking for the loo, grabbing a bite of lunch, something like that. As my attention was distracted from the main event, a low rumble leveling up to an almighty roar moved through the crowd. As I looked around, I gazed upon the balcony. A stranger next to me nudged me and asked, "Who's that standing there next to Dr. Paul Pringle?" That sums up the life of Dr. Paul. He's the man, the myth, and the legend. He was always a large presence wherever he traveled in the world. A man that was one of the most humble, kind, loving, generous, committed, trusting, and positive individuals that I have come to know in my lifetime. Always ready to share a story or two, bordering on the mythical, if you didn't already know that they were true. His accomplishments are many from childhood to adulthood. Surviving and recovering from a horrific accident as a child, meeting the developer of chiropractic, another iconic and larger-than-life individual, meeting and caring for Hollywood personalities and renowned corporate executives, being a father to his children, suffering the loss of a child, flying through the outback in Australia to serve folks in the remote land, and moving to Northern Ireland and meeting the one true love of his life, Maxine. His presence in the profession of chiropractic was an impactful one. From Alaska to New Zealand, when you mention his name, somebody would say, "Yep, I know that guy. What a great fella." It amazes me to the amount of people that have either come in contact with this legend or know of him. The good thing is that we're not just sharing this now in the aftermath of his life during this celebration. He was privy to knowing these sentiments whilst he walked amongst us, to which he would humbly smile and say something off color to distract us and not get too tied up in the emotion of the event. So often we wait until it's too late to share how we really feel with those we love and cherish. His dedication to the science, art, and philosophy of chiropractic was beyond reproach. Yes, PD, you certainly took to heart B.J. Palmer's words and guarded the principle well. And I can tell you that in this day and age, that is not an easy task. He stood strong and braved a tough headwind to carry on his beloved profession for 50-plus years. Throughout the world of chiropractic and beyond, Dr. Pringle was one candle burning brightly in a sea of darkness, lighting the way for many to better health and better life, all the while humbly serving his patients with the utmost of respect, love, and concern. Asking him why he didn't put the sword down and take it a bit easier in his later years, his response was either, "What else would I do?" Or, "There's so much more to do to elevate chiropractic to the greater awareness in the world today." That was another great response he had. And the ideas just kept rolling and rolling on how he could fix the profession throughout the world. And I'm sure he's still working on the master plan. He'll get it done tomorrow. He really enjoyed engaging and mentoring in young chiropractors. It really excited him, and he could wax lyrically on for hours, telling story after story about the experiences he had had in his illustrious past. Students and young people would sit with their mouths agape, soaking up the tales spun by Dr. Pringle, some in virtual disbelief. Sir Lunch-a-Lot, as we often referred to him, always loved to push the envelope a bit, especially when we descended upon a restaurant. A spring soon appeared in his step, like a mischievous boy, knowing he could use some of his Pringleisms again. We'll not go there right now. That's another chapter, and time is limited. I know he did it to embarrass those in his company at the table. And one thing for sure, they never forgot him. And I'm certain he used that ploy to get us to leave a larger than normal tip for the server for just putting up with the harmless fun and antics that we were having. Plus, he never tipped anyway, so.
You never paid for lunch.
No, he didn't. I was fortunate and blessed to have the relationship I did with Paul, one that lasted for more than 25 years. He was a mentor, a trusted friend, and a colleague. I will dearly miss him, as we all will. The impact he had on our hearts has left an indelible impression, which brings me back to the beginning of this short tribute. So standing there in the square after the audience with the Pope and Pringle, we were reunited by himself, Petey, Polly, Paul, Dr. Pringle. Standing around, we asked the man of the hour where he'd gone. He excitedly responded, I was looking around just to ask a question or two, and before I knew it, I'm walking out on this balcony into a cheering crowd with this guy, a smallish guy with an odd hat on. He proceeded to wave to the crowd and say something in Latin or Italian. And then he throws some water on me, asking, and then he says, "How may I help you, son?" To which I responded, "Well, I was told that you were the current boss around here, and I just wanted to know, when are the dancing girls going to show up? Please raise a little hell and party on, my friend. We will miss you. And besides, I have one more request, okay? That comes from the audience today, Paul. There's somebody in the audience that would like to know where his $100 is, okay? And it was for a bet. Or should we just roll that over? Okay, we'll roll it over until the next one. All righty, that sounds good. All righty. Thank you, my friends.
Thanks, Dr. Scott White. Thank you. Now, anybody from the audience would like to say any words? Anybody at all? Yes? Come through, sir.
$100 is me. He's talking about me. Anybody else? We had a bet 4 years ago who would become the next president of the United States. And I said it would not be Mr. Trump. And he said Mr. Trump and the Pope are on the same level. And I said I'll bet you $100 he doesn't win. He did win, and I never got my $100. That's just one thing I can tell you. Oh, yes. Could you all hear me all right back there? Okay, okay. There was something else, though. You were talking about his education. He obviously went to high school where?
Fort Pierce in
Fort
Greenbrier.
Pierce, Florida. And then, no, he didn't mention that. He mentioned, he didn't mention that, though.
Yeah, Greenbrier.
Yeah. Did he mention Greenbrier? I was asleep. I was trying to get my $100 back. And what was the other thing I was going to tell you that military-wise?
He hated Greenbrier.
He hated Greenbrier. The flying. He bought that airplane, as you said. He loved to fly. He was calling himself the Flying Doctor of Australia. But nobody told you why he quit flying. Does anybody here know why he quit flying? He fell sound. Who was that? He fell sound asleep, and his airplane was on automatic pilot. And when he woke up, according to him, I wasn't there. God, I'd never get in the plane with him. According to him, he fell sound asleep, and when he woke up, he had no idea where he was. And of course, we didn't have the GPS kind of stuff we have today. But he finally figured out how to get back to Alice Springs. That's all I had to say. A few corrections there.
It's great. Thank you very much. Anybody else want to say a few words? Have to come out the front, Marie. If you could use that still, that'd be good.
Well, as a new grad, I came to work for Kevin, work with Kevin, and in my first couple of years, Kevin introduced me to Paul. Paul was my greatest mentor, but Paul was also the guy that we have to give credit for many of the chiros in Northern Ireland. He brought us together in a group called the Innate Chiropractic Group, and 21 years ago, we met in his office in Belfast on Saturdays once a month, and it was the start of something really special because it put me on a very, very different path in my chiropractic journey and career. He introduced us to Richard Barwell and gave us the real essence of chiropractic and just taught us what neurology was about and constantly was striving for each one of us to be our best, and I forever will be grateful for that. I still am in contact with Richard, and I know there are others here in the group that are still with that. So I just want to put it on record and thank him for guiding me for everything that I've done, and hopefully the others will feel the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. We just received a message from Steve Savage. basically saying that Paul had a huge influence on him as a chiropractor. One of the most touching things for me about Paul, it was so inspirational. When he was a chiropractor in Alice Springs, he adjusted a young girl called Sonia Floriani. That family now is one of the major players of chiropractic in Australia. Not only is Sonia a chiropractor, 3 of her 4 brothers are chiropractors, all of their wives are chiropractors, and at this moment in time in the Floriani family there are 9 chiropractic students. And that all came from Paul Pringle. So for me, inspiration, without doubt. And I'll never ever, I can never pay him enough care and love and attention, because I was lucky enough to take over from Paul at Craig Chiropractic in about 1996, I believe, something like that. Paul was been here working for Kevin for 4 years, and then he decided to go and set up his own practice down in Hollywood, where we are now. But I was lucky enough that I could take over a practice, and Paul had worked for 4 years, and I followed him around for a week, and it was only just the start of my 2nd year of practicing, I think. And I learnt so much. And I do remember a few of Paul's one-liners. You know what Paul was like. And I said to him, Paul, what about chiropractic education? What do you need to say? We go into the next patient, next client, and he just says to the person, sometimes to make omelettes you've got to crack eggs. And I've never forgotten that. Paul was a fantastic storyteller, and people loved listening to him. And I've always appreciated that with Paul. The second value that I have for Paul, he was always a true gentleman. He'd always speak his mind, but he was always a true gentleman. I know on many occasions he could have said bad things about people and never, ever did to this day. To this day. The only time that he would maybe speak bad about people is as we had lunch about a month ago before he passed away. I said, Paul, what do you think we need to do in this profession? And all he said was, don't let the bastards win. So that's Paul. And as it already has been said, and as Paul said to me, the best thing that ever happened to him in his life was Max. And that's dead set true. He said that every single time I met him. Okay? So for me, Paul was inspirational, a true principled chiropractor, and a true gentleman. And I will miss him. Yes, Sam. Please do, yeah.
How are we doing time-wise?
We're fine.
Should I? All right. Hang on. Now, you want the long version or the short version? Long or short? Okay, I'll go short. I'll go short. I think I'm going short. All right. Okay. When I learned that Paul had passed away and passed into the light, the news, although not unexpected, stopped me in my tracks. But instead of saying a prayer for Paul at the time, I visualized him going through his pre-flight checks on his Cessna Skyhawk with his chiropractic portable table in one hand, his aviator gadgets in the other, and the autopilot, sleep control turned on. Greeted on board by his entertainment director, his box of chiropractic master's audio cassette tapes, buckled in ready to join the journey with him. The plane lifts off the dusty red surface, which is the Alice, splitting Simpson's Gap, heading towards the rising sun over the majestic McDonnell Ranges and the distant shimmer of the horizon. I speculate that a flight like that would be Paul's ultimate joyride on his way to one hell of an adventure. Woo! Yeah. So I'll let you guys look at the long version later. Thank you for letting me jump in. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Richard, you're next one, please. Dr. Richard Cathcart, who was working with Paul at Hollywood, at Pringle Chiropractic.
So, Scott, Sam, Darren. I have nothing. Thanks a lot. You said it all. That's it. Appreciate it. You're welcome. He was dedicated to profession, family, responsible for so many other chiropractors. He small stature, quiet voice. Whenever he walked in a room, if he said something, you know, you just had to listen quietly. And oh, I'm sorry. I started writing your eulogies, Kevin. I'm sorry. I'll do that another day.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I got bequeathed 2 things from Paul. The MAGA hat I got him in Washington, D.C. Susan and I were there and picked it up, bought it from this crazy veteran guy and said, okay, I know the owner of that one. I can only keep that on for so long, but I'll just... And yes, the Donald mask. I was going to put a little ketchup on the ear, but I decided not to do that. But anyway. I'll give that to you to take home. All right, I'm going to read a poem that I was asked to read, and it's beautiful. It's the first time I've heard about it. It's from Anne Lindgren Davison, I'm Free. It goes something like this. Don't grieve for me, for now I'm free. I'm following the path God laid for me. I took his hand when I heard him call. I turned my back and left it all. I could not stay another day to laugh, to love, to work or play. Task left undone must stay that way. I found that peace at the close of day. If my parting has left a void, then fill it with remembered joy. A friendship shared, a laugh, a kiss. Ah yes, these things I too will miss. Be not burdened with times of sorrow. I wish for you the sunshine of tomorrow. My life's been full, I've savored much. Good friends, good times, my loved ones' touch. If my time seemed all too brief, don't lengthen it now with undue grief. Lift up your heart, rejoice with me. God wanted me now, he set me free. Amen.
And for our final speaker today, who's Shane? Come through.
Well, being the last is always the easiest because everybody else has said everything that is to be said. However, I cannot not have this opportunity and take time to say something, as many people know I do. Can you see what I have in my hand here? It is a handle. But it is a handle which has got many facets to it. When the light shines, you see different rays from it. It is a marvelous, marvelous device to look at with the light shining through it. And I was thinking, I met Paul in 1992. July 1992. He walked up to me and she said, "Good day." And I thought to myself, wow, we have got some interesting person to meet here. And he turned out to be genuine. He turned out to be inspirational. He turned out to be willingly and lovingly helpful at every stage of my life. And we went on to operate together, work together. And that inspiration came wholeheartedly, genuinely. He didn't have to think about it. He did it. And I could go on and on. I'll tell you a story that he told me about his practice that has stayed with me all my life and will stay with me. A gentleman came to see him, and he opened the door, and this man was a giant of a man. And he says, "I've got bad back, and I've come to see you." He said, "I don't think I can do anything for you, you know. Look at the size of you and all the rest of it." He said, "I've been told you're the only person who can help me." So he came in, I put him on the adjusting table. He did a bit of movement here, a bit of movement there, and he genuinely couldn't move him. So he went off, and he came back again, and he came back again, and then he stopped coming. And he didn't know what had happened. So one day he met him, and he said, "What happened to you?" He said, "You were such a tremendous help to me, and such an inspiration. And I went to this pub, and I was taking a few refreshments, and I was standing upstairs, minding my own business, but a little bit on the high side. And a number of people were pushing and pulling and all the rest of it, and they pushed me down the stairs. And I went boom, 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 right down the stair. And because I was so relaxed and so out of it with alcohol, I got up, and I have never felt the pain since. I was automatically adjusted. And I thank you for your introduction to chiropractic and good health. And I could go on and on and on about how inspirational he was to me. He shared what he loved. He couldn't wait to see me, to tell me what else he had come across, what else he had found. And that was genuine. He did that with everyone. And many of the friends who have been up here, doctors. I'm not a doctor, but I have had the honor of spending since 1992 with Paul. And they have all said about Maxine and how he felt about Maxine. So I don't need to say anything else. The only thing which I would say to you and to Maxine, I don't know whether I will say it to you, Maxine. I used to say, Paul, journey has been very long, very trying, but you got home safe. And he would say, absolutely. So the background to the prayer, which I'm going to say, is something that Paul used to always say to me. We obviously talked many times about life and about life after and death and spiritual world. He used to say we are spiritual beings experiencing material existence. And about a year and a half or so before his passing, I said to him one day, Paul, can I say a prayer for you, with you, which means a lot to me? He said, absolutely. And I started to say this prayer. And I could see that through saying the prayer with him, it first went to the head. It gradually went to the heart. And it was a most amazing experience for me and for Paul to spend time together saying this prayer, which I'm to say. Now, in his honor, I would appreciate if you would all stand when I say this prayer, the last prayer. Thank you very much. Thy name is my healing, O my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion. Thy mercy to me is my healing and my succor in both this world and the world to come. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, the all-wise, Baha'u'llah. Thank you. Thank you, Gary. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Huzan. I don't have them. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have them here. Yeah. Don't have them here. Ooh. That's all blurred, huh?
Sorry.
I didn't think I got that, eh?
This is Danielle. I've got John A's in there.
Oh, hang on, I've just lost it. Go again.
There.
Oh, yeah? There we go.
I'm shaking.
Yeah. So here's a tribute from Danielle Pringle. He was a miracle worker or a bone cracker, but to me, he was my dad. I'd like to share this amazing journey with you and celebrate with him. Celebrate him. He was loving, caring, and most of all, was really funny. He had a great sense of humour. There's no doubt about that. Paul definitely did have a great sense of humour. We can all testify to that. And would always try and put a smile on your face, which is so true. Even though he lived so far away, and when we were together, everyone would play a joke. Dad, especially when he was sleeping, which was most of the time. You will see the occasional photos where he is sleeping, not only in aeroplanes, and quite often, and sometimes in between adjustments. He would wet our finger and put it in his ear and give him a wet willy. I'm not sure what that one means, but anyway, that's what it says. I believe this started with Max and Dad first. Maybe it should be kept private, Max. And we just carried on the legacy when we were ever together. If he was standing next to you, he would either be hugging you, poking you, or pinching you with love traps. I know it's a sad time and we'll miss our loving father and grandfather. Shed your tears and embrace each other and help celebrate him and the wonderful person he was. Thank you for being part of today. We'll miss you, Dad. One more. No problem. Thanks, Danielle. No problem. There's no rush.
That one. It's not. The, can you read it?
I'll try, yeah? Yeah, if you can, right? Because that's. So it's actually, the note is written in handwriting. So it's.
Do you want me to read it? I can
Yeah,
read.
if you can read, that'd be great.
Well, I'll try.
Thanks, Liz. This is Liz.
Okay. This is from my son, Jono. Grandpa would always make me laugh, and I loved his sense of humour. He was the best chiropractor. He used to crack me. He was kind-hearted and very helpful to people. Someone needs to carry on his chiropractic work. A funny memory together was one time in Paris. Grandpa, Mum and Aunt Danielle all ate snails. Ooh, yuck. And we all went to Disneyland with Grandpa. Another funny time was in Florida. We went to Hooters and Grandpa kept telling me to stop looking at those Hooters. Every time I talked to him, he would say, "How's it going, buddy?" I'm totally going to miss that. He was a hard worker and his job was helping people. He was amazing. He always looked after me. Mostly I will miss his sense of humour and his kindness. Love, Jono.
Thanks, Liz. Well, it's been a difficult day for a lot of people, but I know that Max and the family really appreciate the people who have travelled internationally, the people who have travelled just a few kilometres. But Paul Pringle will always live in our lives. Thank you, Paul. That concludes today's service. Again, thank you very much. If you'd like to make your way back to the room there for tea, coffee, and refreshments. Thank you very much. Thanks, Sam. Thank you.